Hi, all. This is Jana from Feeling Loudly. Today, we're going to dive into a collective message. This is sort of like a post full moon in Pisces integration reading. So, we'll keep it short. This is for anyone who stumbles across this. If it resonates, it resonates. If it doesn't, feel free to move along with love. So, let's get into it. I'm going to shuffle and ask what's coming up for us in the aftermath of this full moon in Pisces, what was released, what is now in focus, what do we need to know? Okay, so we'll start here. I'll probably draw more. So to start off, for what was released, we have the Hermit. The Hermit is a Virgo card. The Sun is currently in Virgo. Mercury retrograde is currently in Virgo. And I feel like for a lot of us, we're coming out of a period of solitude, whether that was more exterior and visible to other people, like we were spending more time inside, we were keeping to ourselves, or whether it was more internal, like we were experiencing inner solitude and that we may have felt disconnected from our outer reality for a long time. And other people may have seen us socializing and living and all of that, but there was a feeling inside of us of deep, deep isolation. And maybe for some of us that meant loneliness. Maybe for other people it was a welcome solitude because there was a lot that's gone down. I'm hearing in the past 3 to 6 months for most of us that has really kind of rocked our foundations. And so for what we are now seeing clearly, what's been illuminated during this full moon, I have the 8 of Swords and the 5 of Pentacles. Let's see if we can get it into focus. 8 of Swords, 5 of Pentacles. You can see that the 8 of Swords person is blindfolded and trapped, or at least they believe that they are. And the 5 of Pentacles person is sort of has this like miserly expression on their face. They are insecure. They feel like they've lost a lot. This could be financial. For many of us, we may have felt trapped in a situation because of a lack of finances or a lack of access to resources. For most of us, that's going to mean material resources, but it could be other types of resources, like maybe a lack of community support, a lack of connection, a lack of protection, even. And it feels like this has been illuminated throughout this full moon cycle. And my incense just sparked right when I said that, specifically the protection bit. Because I feel that for many of us, we felt consistently victimized by situations that were placed in front of us. And it was more like we were in the passenger seat of our own life and having trouble kind of stepping into the driver's seat and feeling like we could grab the steering wheel and direct our course. So for a lot of us, what's coming up is maybe the way that we have fallen into that type of thinking, believing that we are kind of at the mercy of everything around us as opposed to people who can kind of take charge and see what we want and proceed. And that feeling of being trapped by circumstances is very 8 of Swords. And it is often a product of the mind. It's something that we've been conditioned into believing, or that we've tracked our life experiences, and our own track record has begun to look to us as if we are constantly going to be at the whims of everyone around us and everything that happens in our life. And that's led to a feeling of being quite vulnerable. And so the 5 of Pentacles speaks to often a material insecurity, but it can often be a sort of inner insecurity too. And so a lack of stability, a lack of a sense of self, maybe. And I feel like for many of us, that has led into us actually being quite vulnerable because we didn't have the type of energetic protection that we needed. And often that energetic protection comes from confidence, from self-love, from these sort of building blocks of a strong sense of self. And I feel like this full moon may have highlighted to you the ways that you were people pleasing or giving yourself away and trying to maybe seek security and connection and validation and acceptance and approval from people who were ultimately not safe for you. And so now that you can see this clearly, you can make different choices. But for many of us, there's going to be this time period where we're sort of fumbling the ball because we're still learning. We're like kind of like a baby deer who's just trying to stand up on their legs and walk. And so, deer, giraffe, whatever, there's like this feeling of clumsiness that comes after a period of recognition and realization where you're trying to kind of get your sea legs in a new reality. And that's especially applicable right now because this was a full moon in Pisces. Where I'm located, there was tons of rain that surged in right the like night before the full moon, and now it's still raining. And before that, it was hot and dry. But this influx of water has been a blessing, a sort of Jupiterian blessing in many ways. And I say that because Pisces is ruled by Jupiter and also Neptune, who's associated with the sea. And so for you, you could be trying to get your sea legs in uncertain times after a period of feeling very ungrounded and, again, sort of at the whims of your life circumstances, other people's desires for you, other people's opinions of you. And what we are seeing now, for what's still here after the full moon, or advice even, we have the Knight of Swords in reverse. And so this can mean that we're sort of at risk of making a reckless choice, or of not maybe taking ourselves seriously enough to start respecting ourselves and making choices that are rooted in self-respect. The Knight of Swords can be sort of a reckless character who maybe takes actions less mindfully and is a little bit less concerned about the consequences. And so this is kind of a cautionary message here to be thoughtful, to not get so swept up in maybe the surge of energy that you're feeling after this full moon that you make a choice that could be dangerous for you in some way. And I'm not saying that to scare anyone, but more so like just be thoughtful, because if you're kind of coming into a surge of awareness about how you maybe have been limiting yourself, try to not swing so hard in the opposite direction that you become overconfident in your decisions and take steps that you haven't thought about. It's also Mercury retrograde, which I think I already mentioned. But this is ideally not a time to make decisions that could have lasting consequences. And now I have the Queen of Cups in reverse coming up. So there's really a need for us to ground ourselves because we could be getting kind of swept away by our emotions. And so with the Queen of Cups in reverse, sometimes that means our emotions are spilling out and they are sort of uncontained. And they could be influencing our decision-making abilities, and High Priestess in reverse, and causing us to really kind of step away from our intuition. Now, the intuition is in a lot of ways for many of us rooted in our emotions. Many people access their intuition by paying attention to their emotions, by valuing and validating their emotions. But sometimes when we're triggered, or sometimes when we're fearful or just ungrounded, our emotions can lead us into tricky territory if we treat them as the absolute truth. And so there's something here. What is the advice that this group needs? Three of Cups in reverse. Be mindful of who you're sharing your energy with. Be mindful of who you're spending time around. Be mindful of gossip. If you are surrounded by people who constantly gossip about other people, I would really recommend that you distance yourself from them. Do not engage in it. Nine of Swords. This could be creating a lot of anxiety for you because you deep down know that you can't fully trust people who can't keep other people's names out of their mouths. And so there's a part of you that is grappling with that because maybe you've taken part in that type of behavior too, as most of us have. But it feels like you're kind of weighing your options and you are considering investing in relationships that are more aligned with your personal values, and maybe values are something you've been sorting out. Maybe you've been betrayed in the recent past, and that's caused you to really take a second look at the types of people that you were surrounding yourself with, and to kind of develop a keener radar for who you can trust and who you can't trust. And again, this is stuff that you're already aware of. I'm not if this isn't news to you, then this is not relevant to you. These are betrayals that kept you maybe stuck in a place of grief where you were holding on to relationships for a while, even though deep down you knew that you were self-betraying by doing that. You knew that these people didn't respect you, but maybe there was a difficulty that you were experiencing in walking away because you were afraid of the pain that you would experience. And so the fear of that pain kept you in place and actually kept you in a painful situation, which is often what we experience. But it feels like for you, it did kind of keep you in this state of like a mental prison, back to that 8 of Swords. And then with the 5 of Swords, it created a lot of internal conflict that really clouded your mind, because when you were in a situation that was not right for you, and you knew it, you intuitively knew it, your body knew it, your mind knew it, but because you were not yet ready to acknowledge it, it kept you at war within yourself, because there were voices internally that were trying to alert you, and then there were voices internally that were saying, no, let's stay in this situation because it creates a sense of safety, false safety. I dropped a card. Let me grab it. So we have the Emperor in reverse that dropped on the ground. And so when a card drops like that, usually it's an important message. For a lot of you, it feels like you were in an abusive situation. It feels like my little pup confirmation. Okay, I had to pause for a second. Let me scoot forward. So for a lot of you, it did feel like you were in an abusive situation in the past. I think this is something that you've already left behind, and we have the Ace of Cups and the World in reverse, but it feels like although you've cultivated a lot of self-love and in leaving have shown yourself what you're capable of, there's also this feeling of a lack of closure, a lack of finality. Maybe you're waiting on answers or closure from someone else, potentially from someone who harmed you. So let's get a little bit of insight into that. So we have the 6 of Pentacles. It came out sideways, but it was a little bit more in reverse. This person is not generous, and it feels like they're keeping you stuck in a place of maybe indecision, where you are counting on their truth, even though they're a person who's never given you truth, even though they're a person who is quite deceptive and dishonest. And it feels like you're holding out because you keep getting maybe messages that they are going to come back around and be honest with you. And the 3 of Pentacles in reverse. This may have been a situation where you were betrayed in some way. Ace of Swords and 8 of Wands in reverse. Yeah, it feels like this is someone who gave you truth sometimes, like just enough to keep you kind of trusting them. But the vast majority of their actions and their words were deceptive. And again, if this is news to you, then this is not your reading, because this is information that you already have, or that you've at least already really highly, strongly suspected. Let's get a little bit more information about this relationship, and then I'm going to have to stop this one because it's getting long. The Sun, the 5 of Wands, the King of Cups in reverse, the Knight of Pentacles in reverse, the 4 of Pentacles in reverse, or no, 4 of Pentacles upright, and the Tower in reverse. Wow. Okay. So let me throw out some signs. We have Leo. We have, I can't remember. I think the 5 of Wands is Aries, but it could be Leo. We have the Tower in reverse, which is a Mars card, could be associated with Aries or Scorpio. We have the King of Cups in reverse, which is typically Pisces, but it can be Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio. Knight of Pentacles in reverse, typically Taurus, but it could be Taurus, Virgo, or Capricorn. And then the 4 of Pentacles, which I think is Capricorn, but I could be wrong about that. It could be Taurus. Okay, so this was a controlling person who it feels like you got in a lot of fights with. It feels like there was a lot of conflict, but there were these periods, these punctuation marks of joy where you felt really connected to them. And so those sort of at times overshadowed the ongoing conflict that was sort of simmering below the surface. The Tower reverse tells me that you were trying actively to avoid a disaster and a breakdown, and it was like you were kind of trying to plug the holes of a sinking ship. Like as if you were on the Titanic and you knew the boat was going down, but you were trying to like decorate the rooms and serve the food and have a banquet. And it was like this desire, this yearning for celebration in the wake of breakdown and destruction. And the King of Cups in reverse usually is an emotionally, if not volatile, at least an emotionally manipulative figure. And so for lots of you, this person was highly manipulative, and their emotions may have been intense. They may have sort of, I'm feeling like a needing to walk on eggshells because there was a fear of maybe anger, which would make sense, especially if this was an abuser. And then the Knight of Pentacles in reverse can be someone who's not committed, someone who is not reliable, someone who cancels plans, someone who doesn't keep their word, someone who you just really can't count on. And the Four of Pentacles upright is often connected to control or greediness or a sort of stinginess where someone doesn't want to release what they've accumulated. And so if any of this is clocking for, it feels like someone that you were in a relationship with, I'm really glad you left this situation because this was not good. This was a bad situation for you. And like, good for you. I'm sure it took a lot to leave. So good for you. Devil in reverse and the Two of Wands. So the Devil is a Capricorn card. The Two of Wands is an Aries card. I'm just mentioning these so you can, if the signs resonate for you. And then we have the Page of Cups and the Nine of Wands. The Page of Cups could be a water sign, Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio. The Nine of Wands is a Sag card, Sagittarius. So the Devil in reverse feels like you did break this attachment. You may have performed a cord cutting, or you may have just sort of intentionally removed yourself from the situation to the point that you're able to more energetically cut ties with this person and move forward. It feels like there was conflict and disorder when you were trying to move forward. But ultimately you came back to yourself and sort of fell into that Page of Cups energy where you were able to access your heart again after a period of maybe having to be shut down. The Nine of Wands is a very long journey where we're almost at the end of something, but we're so exhausted, we're so worn down that we think about giving up and maybe retreating to a situation that was comfortable but disastrous. We have the Queen of Wands and the Ten of Swords. So the Queen of Wands is Aries, but it could be Leo or Sagittarius too. And let's see if I can get them in focus. I don't know. The Ten of Swords is a painful ending, but one that's long overdue. And so it feels like you recognized at some point that the journey had to come to an end, that the more you put into this situation, the more it depleted you, the more it took away your light. Maybe this person was just very depleting to be around, and it really kind of caused you to step outside of character. You may not be proud of the way that you behaved in this situation, and that's something that happens often. You might want to go look up reactive abuse, where someone triggers you to the point of you responding in ways that are out of character, and then they blame you for your reaction to the harm that they're inflicting. So if any of this resonates, I really hope that you have support right now, because this feels like a very bad situation. I get the sense that you're strong. You're showing up as the Queen of Wands, and you put an end to this situation. You stepped away. And that in itself is such a powerful act of self-love. But now you're in this position where you've gone inward for a long period of time to heal, probably. Probably that was part of the hermitude and the solitude that we spoke about earlier. But now you feel a little bit trapped because you may have a lack of resources. You may feel unsupported. You may be questioning your decision making because of the situations you were in prior. You may be falling into patterns of Queen of Cups in reverse where your emotions really get the best of you and you feel like you can't contain them. Maybe that means that at times you fell into similar patterns as that King of Cups in reverse, who can be quite manipulative. And so maybe you saw that part of yourself come out too, and that was really difficult to face. So there's a need to bring compassion in here because you've gone through a lot, and it would take a superhuman to not behave in like in some unkind ways or maybe some shadowy ways when you're going through a situation like this. You can take accountability for your behavior without going into a shame spiral. And I think that needs to be your focus moving forward, is how can I take responsibility for the choices that I made while also practicing compassion for myself, knowing that I've been through a lot. Can I get a little bit of just future advice for these people I'm reading for? Page of Wands, upright. So I feel like there are new creative possibilities in the future for you. The Magician coming out upright to back that up. You have a lot of power. You have a lot of potential. There's like very, very powerful opportunities on the horizon for you. The Chariot. You're going to be moving forward with confidence and determination. Like, I really feel that there's sort of like the clouds parting, and you may, you gave up potentially connection to family, to legacy, to finances, to money. Maybe there was an inheritance that was on the table that you had to leave behind in order to get your freedom. But what is next for this group? What can we leave them with? The Three of Wands. Everything you've been hoping for and visualizing and focusing on as a way to sort of keep you motivated and inspired as you move through this challenging time, it's going to come to fruition. You just have to be a little bit patient. Okay, one more piece of advice. The new beginning is awaiting you, but self-awareness and accountability are a part of that. So I feel like for you, one of the sort of final steps in this journey is reflecting back on your actions and deciding what you don't want to take with you into the future. Judgment in reverse can speak to us sort of not looking at things clearly, not taking consideration of the role that we play in our own lives and our own responsibility in our lives. The moment you decide to take accountability for maybe what you've been avoiding and what you've been afraid to look at, that's when you can unlock the power. That's when you can recognize your role. That's when you step into the driver's seat, because you recognize and take ownership of your past behavior. And that means that you're kind of, by nature, also taking ownership of your future behavior. And that changes everything. Okay? Take care of yourselves. There's a lot coming up for you, and I feel like you're a very strong group. So know that about yourself, affirm that about yourself, and ask for help when you need it. But you've got this, okay? If you're interested in a personal reading, you can find the link in the description box. I offer tarot readings live over Zoom or just recorded on demand. You can just add your questions and check out, and you'll get a reading within 72 hours. I also offer astrology and Akashic Records readings, so check it out. Sign up for my newsletter for 10% off live readings, and go follow me on TikTok and Instagram if you're interested in more quick pick content, pick a card readings, etc. Okay, if this was helpful, please do like, comment, subscribe, and I'll be back soon with another message. Take care.